Hello guys, Jagveer Singh back with another video of Catia V5, and in this video I will show you how to design fuselage using adaptive sweep. So let's get started. So just to let you know that this is the continuation of GSD series, which is Generative Shape Design series, in which I'm trying to teach you how to do and how to design a particular plane of whatever fuselage type that you're looking for, and also the different ways of doing it. So in the previous video, I showed you how to use multi-section surfaces in GSD to design a fuselage. If you haven't seen that video, just go and look for it. That's one way of designing the fuselage. This time I'm going to use adaptive sweep, which is right here, this feature, in order to make the fuselage. The thing is, why and when would you use adaptive sweep over a multi-section surface is that because of adaptive sweep, it gives us more flexibility and more capability, and it's a very powerful feature as well in Katia. And how does this work is if I just click on adaptive sweep, it's asking me for a guiding curve and it's asking for a spine as well. Well, if we just define a guiding curve, it will automatically pick up a spine. And then it's also asking for a sketch. So sketch is kind of a profile that we would need in order to tell the feature to follow it through the guiding curve. The spine, the only condition is going to be it should be normal. So the sketch and the guiding curves should be normal to each other. Eventually, the spine would be accumulated as guiding curve as well. So as you can see, it has sections, something similar to multi-section, but then it also has parameters. I will show you what exactly and how this feature is useful and it can be used. So first of all, you would need a guiding curve, as we already saw in the requirements. So first things first, what I'm going to do is, because I know that I will need a guiding curve, the condition for adaptive sweep is that we need a guiding curve that is right in the middle of the sketch. So for example, it cannot be guiding curves outside the profile. It needs to come right in the middle. And then we will make a sketch that will be appropriate to the kind of shape a fuselage have. If it's a circular, then we can use a cone or even semicircle or even elliptical shape. If it is more of a rectangular shape fuselage, which is generally helicopters some of the times, or um, Cessna uh, planes as well, which are very small helicopter kind of planes that you can use. So those have different kind of features. Those have different kind of body. If I try to show you what I'm talking about, it's mainly that I open up here for Cessna. Got it. Okay. So Cessna plane, they have kind of a cube. So they have more of a rectangular-ish fuselage shape that you can actually use, because of which you can also use adaptive sweep for the same. So let's see how it's actually used, or how can we actually use it. So I need to define a guiding curve. Because of the same, I would need different points in order to make a guiding curve. So how I'm going to do is, I'm simply going to choose points and I'm going to use this plane to make those points on. I double clicked on it, if you notice. I'm just going to make normal to this particular surface and then have a better view of how accurate the points I'm looking for. Just make sure not to make too many points because then the curve is not going to be very symmetrical. So I'm just going to click on this particular plane and somewhere we'll try to follow as close as possible to the middle of the fuselage to have the most accurate guiding curve possible. So I took one point there. I can see that I might need one point here as well. Let's say somewhere in the middle of it, somewhere here. I'm using points because it's easy to control points versus having using a spline. You could have made the guiding curve directly by having a projection sketch. Just make a sketch and that will consist of a spline or even a 3D curve. But I'm using points because it's relatively far easier to control points individually versus a curve which will have effect on the entire spline itself. Points help you keep it more individual approach versus something like spline where you have to change accordingly. In this case, I'm just choosing multiple points at different portions of fuselage where I think it would be the best in order to have one. So as you can see that I'm making different points here, trying my best to be as close to the center of the fuselage at every point I'm selecting. In that way, you will come to know what exactly my approach is in few minutes. So that's in my eyes very close to the center of the fuselage. So now I can use the spline to actually connect all these points. So I double click on spline, click all these points right here. So add point after. And if I try to click, oh, my bad, spline, start clicking on spline right here. This point right here, this point here, right here. Similarly, I'm just going to join all the points so that it becomes one continuous line or a guiding curve that I can use for making my adaptive sweep feature activate. So those are the points that, as you can see, okay, we have already selected that point. Perfect. So now those are the point that appears to me to be very close to the center of the fuselage. Similarly, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a plane that is normal to this particular curve. So first things first, I made different points that I think were in the middle of the fuselage. Then I connected all those points to make one spline. Now the next step is making a plane that is normal to the curve on which I will make the sketch in order to have my adaptive sweep activate. So I'm going to make a plane right here and it will be normal to curve. You can select if it's something like offset from plane. So just come to normal to curve, click on the curve itself and then click on the point right here where I'm going to make my sketch on and click OK. So now this plane is normal or perpendicular to this particular curve. So that's one of the requirements for making adaptive sweep possible. So just make sure. So now I can go on projection sketch, click on the plane itself, go to projection point, click on the point, the one that I want to, click OK. So now in this case, I have an idea that my fuselage is more of a cylindrical or a circular shape profile. So I'm just going to use semicircle right here. And there we go. I'm just going to randomly guess any number that is going to be close enough to appear. So let's say if I'm going to guess like, let's say 40, just have a look that is it close enough? Well, 40 appears to be close enough if you have a look from this way. It's slightly too much on this side, so I can just reduce it to 38 maybe, right? I mean, whatever works good to you or whatever appears to you to be very close enough or however you like it, right? So if you don't like this, you can also make some changes because it's relatively easier to make changes because we have used points instead of using a 3D curve or a spline. So let's say if I want to make change to this particular point, I can simply double click on it. I can relatively click on the normal and then I can adjust accordingly that where I want to move this thing. I can move it accordingly. I can move it slightly here, there, wherever I want. And let's see if I want to move somewhere here, let's say slightly up, and click OK. Well, because it's normal, so it's going to appear slightly tilted. So never mind about it. If you want to change that, then you need to make some motions here to this particular point as well. Somewhere here, it looks fine. is close enough. If I want to change or adjust, I can change later on as well. So now we have one sketch and one guiding curve that we can use, and it's going to be relatively very close enough, and we can make adjustments accordingly. If I click on adaptive sweep, so now it fulfills the condition of guiding curve and the sketch. So I click on the guiding curve right here and the sketch right here. So you can see that it's giving me an option of having different sections. So these points are also going to be used as sections now. So as you can see, like every point I click, it's propagating this particular sketch on each and every one of them. So I'm going to select all the points first, right? So then that way I will have more visual appearance of what exactly I'm going to show. So if I click on preview, there you go. You already have a fuselage looking shape, right? But it's not close enough to what actually we need. So what we can do is, if we come back here to parameters, you have different options. So user check section 1, and you can see the name as well, section 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. So 1 is the first sketch that we already made. And if you look at here, this is the same diameter that we chose for the inner circle or the sketch that we designed initially, which was 38. So now in this way, we can actually play with the sketch itself for each and every point that we selected throughout the curve. So let's say on section 2, I know that the sketch should be slightly bigger than the first one because the fuselage got bigger. So I can just try to see that whatever works fine with me and whichever is closest for me. So let's say that in this case, if I have a little bigger of the fuselage, and there you go. So I can play with numbers and get an estimate and click preview. So you see it's adapting to that particular shape or profile. Similarly, user section 3, if I come and just try to increase this number somewhere close by to what I think should be, so let's say around 58, let's say. So it's getting very close to what we actually need. Similarly, section 4 comes here. I can increase this as well. Something close to what we need. Preview, we have that. Similarly, in section 5, let's see, if we increase this as well, and let's say, so that's a little too much. Let's see, a little low. There we go. Getting very close to the fuselage actual shape. I'm just making sure that it's close enough. Then I will show you how can we actually modify these tools as well. So I'm going to preview. That looks fine. Similarly, section 7, right? Yeah, section 7 is close enough. Section 8 needs some modification. Should be a little lowered, a little shorter, and somewhere here maybe. Yeah, looks kind of fine. Yeah, looks close enough. So similarly now the thing is, although we have tried, you can see that it's the upper surface appears to be very close, but the lower one on few of the points is nowhere closer to actually where we want it. So how to adjust that is by using the points at the right location. It means that your points were not very close to the center of the actual fuselage. You can just play with the point position. If you want to play it manually, it's your choice, or if you, so like these are already defined, so you can play with this as well. Let's say if I want to use a less number, so I can just click on it and it will move relatively. Or if I just want to guesstimate, I can do that as well, but I just prefer using it where you have a source of information where to work with. So now I know that both of the space on both sides is kind of similar. So I'm going to double click on it. I'll go on parameters, user 3, and I can increase the profile. And this will be very close enough, I'm pretty sure. There you go. That's close enough. If you are still not satisfied, you can just increase by a couple of more points. There you go. That's very close to the real shape. Similarly, you can come here for the second one as well, and you can increase for section 4. Parameter section 4. Let's see. You can increase it. The upper one is going way too out, so I'm just going to toggle with the lower one for now. So let's say if I reduce it by a slide and try to move the point right here, I'm going to move this point slightly lower, right? Let's make it slightly lower by uh, by 3 to 4 millimeters. Let's say around 24-ish, 23. That's that's good enough. So now it's close enough. Now I can adjust accordingly. There we go. 70. 70 looks fine. If I want, I can adjust accordingly. All right. So now at least you got an idea what I was trying to say. If you want to adjust, it's relatively way easier in comparison to something like multi-section where you always need to come back to each and every section and try to make changes to, versus something that is relatively way easier to make modifications with. So now similarly, you can come here. I know that's user section 5. I come here and increase this by like a few points, make it 69, let's say, and click OK. Looks close enough. Similarly, come here, make changes. I mean, overall, it's close enough though. If you look at it very closely, it's very close to what actual shape looks like, and that's how you can make the fuselage. And now you can simply make a tail cone and a nose cone for the fuselage and work accordingly. But that in that way, if you want to go in very detail, you can make some tweaks and adjustments, whichever way you like. But overall, that was a showcase of how adaptive sweep work. And this is a very practical example as well because you have this particular feature as a sketch, even if you have different kind of profiles, which is just like I showed you Cessna, which have a kind of a rectangular shape. You can add as many parameters and it will appear on the fuselage and adaptive sweep feature under parameters. So in this case, I just have one variable, which is 28 millimeter of radius or diameter, whatever it is. And then let's say if you have multiple features, so let's say if you make a rectangular shape and then you have fillets on it, which have different radiuses, then those number of exact features will appear right here. So that how you can easily control those features as well. So that's pretty much it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you like it. And in upcoming videos, I will continue with the GSD series and will continue with finishing the plane off by designing wings, vertical stabilizer, horizontal stabilizer, and also show you many other features that are very relative and practical in use that you can also use in general surface designing. That will be very helpful for you. So stay tuned and thank you so much for watching once again. Take it easy. Bye.